let's go. Now, let's go and talk about the tire. I have deflated it, and the first thing that I do is to make sure that I am fully deflated, because if I still have quite a bit of air and I have a slow leak and it's not enough to ride, but I need to go, I need to push it all the way in so that I have room. Next step is to make sure that I slide the tire inside as much as I can. If it is flush to the rim, there is a lot less clearance, and let me show you this on this rim here. You see right there, you see that the bottom of the rim is not flat, it's concave. If I put it in the light, you can see it's grooved, so that means that if the tires are very close to the edges, they'll be way tighter around the rim, and it will be very hard to clear basically the clinching part of the tire, the rim, the edge of the rim with the bead. You know, this is what they clinch in there. So that's what I do. I push them in so that it's all the way out. All the way inside, I mean, not out. And that gives me more clearance. Then, opposite of where the stem valve is where there will be the least tension on the rim. You think that makes no difference, but it actually will if you have a super tight tire to go on. So I'll take this one and I'll go and flip it over. That's what you do. You need to clear the hooked side of the tire lever underneath the tire, and that's where, if the tire was very flush, I can't go in there. So you push it in, go below it, and then you flip it, and literally all you need to do is to flip it all the way through. Once you do this, you want to hold it with your thumb right here, hold the bead on top of the rim so that it stays on the outside of the rim, and you want to slide forward. And you see that I can go and make it all the way through in one smooth motion. Sometimes you have to go and get yourself more weight and go through there, and so this is how it works. I'm going to demonstrate it again. I'm showing off how to put the tire on at the same time, I guess, but we'll just dissect this. Now let's use the speed lever. The speed lever starts the same. I have the hook right here that I need to go underneath the tire, and once I do, I extend this arm all the way onto the skewer and hook it on. That gives me the leverage and the consistency, and that it's very easy to just push the tire out. In this case that was fairly easy. These carbon rims do a good job with that, the zip for a force, but sometimes it's a struggle. So let's do it this way, all the way through. If it's your first time, I highly recommend the speed lever. Like I said, the only downside is that it takes quite a bit of room into your arsenal, and it also has a nice way to hook it back on. So anyway, once I am there, I undid the tire all the way through. I need to take the tube out. Same thing, I go opposite of the stem where there is the most room, and I take the tube out. That's simple. Now here I easily clear and take the stem out. Now of course in this case, because of the dip dish rim, I need to have an 80mm valve, which is one of the considerations that you have to have when you're buying bikes, buying rims, buying tubes. So now I need to find out, why did I have a flat? Well, I will go and thread my fingers very lightly inside the tire to see if I can find something that went through, and at the same time I will examine the outside to see any type of cut, maybe a pebble of either rock or glass that went through. A lot of times you don't find anything and you're like, damn, what did the flat happen? Because it went in and out. Also, a very common flat is a pinch flat. A pinch flat is when basically you didn't have enough tire pressure, and as you were, let me see if I have a flat rim here. This one is inflated, this one is not. A pinch flat, I didn't have enough tire pressure, and then as I hit a bump or something, the tire did this, and the tube was pinched in between the two. You know you have a pinch flat once you take the tube, and on the tube you will find like a snake bite on it, and it typically is on the inside of the tube. So once you are home and you look at your tube, you look underneath like this, and the pinch flat will be on the inside, and you have two very distinct cuts. And that's like, well, user error. You just didn't have enough tire pressure, which we'll talk about. So now my tube is out. Now it's time to put the new tube back in. I checked that there was no problem. These little valves work with either gravity, the Presta valves, or pressure. If I have enough pressure into it, it will stay extended and hold the air. But if I put a tiny amount of pressure, and now I will go and use my lips to put a little bit of air in it. You see, this way it holds some air, but if I flip it over, it's not enough. It went down, so I won't have the air in the tube that I need to. So either I make sure that I blow hard enough so that it holds the air, or I use gravity and I keep it facing down the whole time. So you see, valve is down, and as it's down, I will slowly twist it without taking the air out. Why do I want air out? Why do I want air in the tube? So that it is less easy to pinch it as I put it back in the rim. I'll show you how. I'll show you why what I'm talking about. So now I'll find my rim. I refine the hole where the stem goes into. Dark on dark, very not easy. Where is the hole? Here where that happens. There it is. And I have the hole, and I'll use gravity. So my tube, right from the top, letting it go, and I will try to slide it inside the tire. Like this. And now it evenly will go and spread itself out. Tube all the way through. Clear the tire over the tube as quickly as as soon as I can, but no rush. And then I make my way putting the tire inside. Now because I held it the way I did, it goes in fairly easily, evenly. I don't have kinks, a little bit of a bend here, and that's why you want air. If you have no air in it, it just doesn't want to hold its form, and you can easily pinch it as you go. The first thing you want to do is, as soon as you can, clear the bead of the tire at this point here. You see that right now this moves, so I put it in there, and well, it went in straight. But now I need to make sure that I have room. If I push the stem all the way through, to make sure that the other end of the tube is on the top of the tire, so that the tire now can go and clinch in all the way through. Again, it drops into the groove so that I have more clearance. If I don't do that, I will struggle to put the tire all the way around. And if I do just this little change in detail, it should be nice and easy to get it at least close. You see now the air, I'll turn around so that the light is better. You see that now the air in the tube may make my life a little bit harder. I go through here and it wants to not fit in there. I push it as much as I can with my fingers on top of the rim, inside the groove itself. You visualize the groove, and then you go. And at this point, actually that was fine. If it were to be a little too tight, I have a little too much air, I'm using a narrower tire. These are 25mm tires. If you're using 23s or even 20s, so you take some of the air out, and now you can push all the way in. So again, making sure that the tire itself is all the way in the center. Remember, visualize. You don't want it close to the edge. You want to push it in, and then it will hold you, and it will have the least tension for you to put it over on top. Now this is, if it were to be hard, it is a little bit hard now, I could use my same tire lever, but instead of using it that way, scooping the tire up, now I want to reverse it and hook the bead on top. So I will go right to here, see, I want to visualize, you want to go over the rim and push the tire in. And I will try to find a way to put it underneath like this, and I'll find the rim and then I'll flip it over. The only downside of doing this is that if your tube is somewhere in the middle, you could pinch the tire, you could pinch the tube there. Not a problem here, because I know my tube is all the way in the center. I could just flip it over like this. That being said, whenever possible, I prefer to do it just with my thumbs. And right here, I'm pretty confident that I will be able to do it just with my thumbs. Famous last words, right? So, push it in, making sure it's all the center, and push, and boom, it cleared. And there you go. Now, let's go to the inflation part. Inflation part. Sure, I could use CO2. I don't like using CO2 because, well, it's expensive, etc., and you carry it around. So that's why I love these little Lezin pumps that are frame pumps that will get you the pressure. For the sake of the video, I'm going to use my floor pump. Take my pipe out. That's for the disc, to be able to reach into the disc. Like this won't fit in the disc where the Lezin pump does. And here is where having the long stem is critical, because if you see, if I push like this, because there is no pressure, look my stem, you can see my stem wants in. And sometimes you go like this and you can't get enough pressure, and you go like this, you go and you try to pump and the air doesn't go in. You see it, I'm having resistance, but I'm not gaining the traction, it's leaking everywhere. And if you do this with your CO2, well, guess what? You just lost your CO2. And now what do? That's why I like the pumps. So, how to avoid this? Make sure that while you are trying to hook your air system, whether it's a CO2 or a pump, you hold the opposite side of the tire right on top of the rim to stop it from doing this. You see, it moves. Now I push it in, it doesn't move. So as I hold it there, I easily can put it all the way to where it needs to be with the fingers, and now I lock it in place. Now I should have no problem pumping up my tire. I always go to about 20 psi, not a dangerous pressure. Release. Have a look to make sure that I have the bead all over where it needs to be, that it's not anywhere else. A quick visual look. Again, it's worth the time, trust me. Ask me how I know. And we go through here and make sure that the tire is beaded properly all the way in. And then you can go inflate. Even at that pressure, out of a habit, I always will be holding on the other side. Now let's talk about inflation as I do this. This tire probably says, what does it say? Let's see. Don't ride with those tires anymore. 90-95, I'll go to 100 just for the video. Close it, and off you go. You may notice that I don't put that little cap back on. That little cap really doesn't do you any good, doesn't help you. If you know, I never use them, none of my bikes have them. It's just added weight, one more step to do when you have that. So let's see what kind of tire pressure. Can I find the marking on this? Rotation made in Germany. Maximum in pressure 120 psi. And that's actually one of the reasons why these Continental tires are popular. And it's the right rotation. It's a rotational tire and it's mounted the correct way, which again, I've found many tires on friends' bikes that were the opposite way, and well, that adds rolling resistance. So it says 120 psi. 120 psi, most people will go and inflate it to that no matter what. You should not do that. You should ride with whatever is adequate for your weight, which for me it will be somewhere around 95 on the rear and 90 to 85 on the front. That's what I ride with. I'm 160 pounds and I ride on this bike. The lower tire pressure will actually give you lower rolling resistance. Yes, I did say that correctly. Most people think that it is the other way around, but it is actually the lower tire pressure, within reason, gives you lower rolling resistance. Because instead of having to lift the whole bike over every single pebble and crack that you go over, the tire will absorb it. It also will, instead of lifting the whole car, the whole bike, and it just absorbs the pebble. So you're actually saving energy. Plus, if you have some kind of a sharp object, and with a high pressure and narrow contact patch, it may just get the pressure and slice your tire as opposed to absorb it. So you're also more prone to flats with too high a tire pressure. So too low, you can get a pinch flat. Too high, you can get flats more easily. That's why you need to be in the happy medium. Same thing for cars and below. You need to have your thing. Ever since we have been riding on pneumatic tires, air pressure is a big key. Any questions? Send me a comment, give me a like, and I'll try to either make a new video and explain or reply. Thank you. Happy Nico.